And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very exciting program today, the 20th day of October. Well, 3 days away from the iconic India Day Fair. Well, the weather today is 24 degrees already and a glorious day out there, a beautiful day here in Brisbane where we are streaming live from via Chentex Multimedia. So today in this segment we have our news update. Coming up after that is the Daily India Report. Then at 10 a.m. we will have the weekly real estate update with Usha Chandra, who will be right here in these studios. So right now, let's get on with the news for today. And the first one is the admissions to hospitals in New South Wales drops down to a low level. So that might be a sign of times to come.
Cases in New South Wales are below 300 for a second day. 273 new locally acquired infections have been detected. That's slightly up on yesterday's 265. There were 4 deaths. The 7-day case average has fallen to 344. 80.8% of over 16s are now fully vaccinated, and 0.1% have received their first dose.
There's a lot of uncertainties about what case numbers will do. We would believe that they would go up. As we have more interactions, they'll go up. But as I said, it is in the hands of everyone. So the more people continue to get tested, the more people follow the public health advice, the more people that get vaccinated all give us protections. So we have, to some extent, all of the modelling depends on judging what the testing levels are, what the vaccination levels are, what the number of interactions people have. So we've given guidance, and so to some extent it is about how people behave responsibly as we open up, what the models will show. But we are expecting, it does take a lag, so we wouldn't be expecting numbers to rise within a 2-week, 2-week period. We'll get a sense. So next week I'll be really interested in what our numbers are. But we are working very hard to keep the numbers as suppressed, and I'm so pleased we've got 90,000 tests. We're going to need to keep those testing rates up, and thank you every one of those individuals who've come forward.
And isn't that wonderful that so many people have come up and got their tests done? And as you mentioned, that as the restrictions ease, numbers are likely to rise. And everyone's got that opportunity now to go and get vaccinated. So that's the message, that this is, the beginning of the new norm, where we'll have to learn to deal with it and to live with this condition. So, New South Wales leading the way there. We'll see. Well, right now, let's go to ACT and see what is happening there.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Pleased to advise that the ACT has become the first Australian jurisdiction to reach 80% full vaccination for its 12-plus population. We've now administered 363,000 first doses to Canberrans 12 years and older, and 293,500 second doses. Reaching this 80% milestone is a significant achievement for the community, and Canberrans should be very proud how we have all worked together and given our city the best opportunity to manage the expected increase in cases as the nation starts to reopen. We're now well on our way to having close to 99% of our eligible population fully vaccinated by the end of November. There are around 68,500 second doses still to go, though, and that will be the priority over the next several weeks. As a result of reaching this vaccination milestone, the ACT Government is in a position to bring forward the recommencement of in-person retail shopping. That will start from 11:59 p.m. this Thursday evening, the 21st. It will take place under a 1 person per 4 square metre operating requirement. ACT businesses providing essential retail under click and collect or click and deliver models can also reopen their doors from 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, again at 1 person per 4 square metres. The high vaccination rates and the stable average case numbers over the last few weeks will allow the government to further ease restrictions from 11:59 p.m. on Thursday the 28th of October. This includes the relaxation of capacity limits across a number of different industries, including hospitality and major events. Food courts in the Territory will also reopen under a 1 person per 4 square metre operating model. From Friday 29 October, face masks will no longer be mandatory outdoors. They will, however, still be required indoors. Subject to the public health risk at the time, the ACT will remove the COVID-affected area declaration right across New South Wales from Monday the 1st of November. This means that ACT residents will not have to quarantine when they return to the Territory from any part of New South Wales, including the Greater Sydney area. This aligns with the decision of the New South Wales Government to allow travel from Greater Sydney into regional areas of New South Wales from that same date, Monday 1 November. Now, as previously outlined, and similar to the arrangements the ACT had in place throughout most of this year, we will move to an individual local government area assessment of public health risk from 1 November onwards.
So that's the date, the 1st of November. Well, this is the sign of times of things that are going to happen. We are opening up. Restrictions are easing, but of course we will still have to be vigilant, still exercise care when we out and about, especially into the public. Well, we had a look at New South Wales. We've been to ACT. Let's now go to Victoria.
Victoria is edging closer to its 90% first dose vaccine target, but case numbers remain stubbornly high. 1,749 new local infections have been identified and 11 more people have died with the virus. Those cases are down from yesterday and the 7-day average is now 1,933. Currently, 66.7% of people aged 16 and over are fully vaccinated. 88.4% have received their first dose. And let's go to reporter Steph Ferrier in Melbourne now. Steph, how is the state tracking with its opening up plan?
Good afternoon. Yes, well, it's tracking very well at the moment. In fact, going even further ahead than what it anticipated for that 80% threshold. But we are definitely on track to meet the 70% double vaccination of the 16 and over population of Victoria by Friday, so that we will be able to come out of this 11-week lockdown. Just in terms of the figures, though, today, as you mentioned, they are still very high at 1,749 cases. That is, though, fewer than, well over 140 fewer than yesterday. Unfortunately, we also saw 11 more deaths, taking the state's toll from this current outbreak to 163. They include 8 men and 3 women aged from their 70s up to their hundreds as well. We're also seeing the hospitalisation rate remaining relatively steady at 784 people in hospital. 149 of those are in intensive care and 100 are on a ventilator. However, the vaccination levels are going really strongly, and the Premier, Daniel Andrews, says that this really bodes well for us pushing through almost eventually to well above the 90% level as well. And he does say that we are now looking at getting at that 80% mark before Melbourne Cup Day, which was originally planned. He believes that that is going to potentially mean that we could see Derby Day opening up to crowds as well of around 10,000 people. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
The advice I have is that it's likely to be sometime on that weekend, which I perhaps know where you're headed. That does present us with a fantastic problem to have. And I think there's some work going on at the moment about whether Melbourne Cup Day is in fact the trial event or whether Derby Day might be. That's not settled. I'm not here to make announcements about that. That may be possible, it may not be, but we're certainly working with the VRC around that.
And he also says, just in terms of the vaccination levels, for anybody who thinks that they can just remain unvaccinated and eventually, once we hit even higher rates of vaccination, that things will open up for them, he said, don't hold your breath on that because you cannot outweight this virus. In his words, he's talking about the possibility that the Grand Prix, as far away as April next year, that will still have crowds only for the fully vaccinated. And so unvaccinated people could miss out even further ahead. He also talked about wanting clarity about booster shots for people who will be coming up in line, but that is a federal government responsibility. And he also talked about the possibility of people being able to come in from international areas as well, and potentially some of those fully vaccinated people coming in only having to do home quarantine or not quarantine at all when we get up to those really high vaccination levels here in this state.
Also, Steph, there's this announcement of new funding to push up vaccination rates in vulnerable community groups.
Yes, well, we've already seen them go with these so-called mini-pops or pop-up sites into certain areas where they have been trying to boost vaccination levels around the 27 postcodes that had lower than expected levels. Now they're really wanting to absolutely focus on those people that might find an additional challenge to be able to come and get vaccinated. So to that end, the government is announcing a $21 million package just to try to get to some of those disadvantaged people across all sorts of different areas, from disabled people to people in certain cultural groups, as well as people that might be experiencing family violence as well. But we heard from the Deputy Secretary of the Health Department, Naomi Bromley, and she said one of these pop-up sites has shown the way in Fawkner in Melbourne's north, just proving how just with a little bit of tweaking they can make the experience so much easier and the access so much easier for people to get vaccinated. Here's what she had to say.
This is a really great site for people who need accessible parking, people who might need dim lighting, wider booths, experienced staff and communication boards. And I guess picking up on the Premier's announcement, that's really one example that shows that if the right supports and facilities are in place, we really can continue to make sure that no one is left behind in the vaccination efforts.
Now, she's also just given a little bit of an area breakdown in terms of where the spread of the new cases are. 28% in the southeastern suburbs, including 153 in that hard-hit area of Casey. Also 28% in the northern suburbs, so they're equal footing now, and 30% of the cases over in the west. Just 5 in the eastern suburbs, and regional is also tracking well. They were stable with around 8% of these cases. But obviously, the faster that we can get as many people vaccinated as possible, the quicker we'll get all of those case numbers and hospitalisations down. That is what the state government is looking forward to doing, and they say that there are going to be some real sweeteners, particularly for that Melbourne Cup Carnival, if we can get there all the faster.
And that is wonderful news to get there faster if we can, and it is wonderful to see that. Well, right now again you talk about India Day Fair. India Day Fair is happening this Saturday from 11 a.m. at Suncorp Piazza. Well, the thing is that it is on the limited capacity basis, meaning that to get your good seats you'll need to get in quick and get in first. So first in, best dressed is the case, because it's not a ticketed event. The experience with ticketed events on a free event is that people do block in the tickets and they don't come. Then it blocks out others. So we've left it open for everyone, but it is on a first in, best dressed basis. Everyone can come in and join in. India Day Fair happening on 23rd October, which is this Saturday, and you'll be wondering, why are we celebrating India's independence in October? Well, of course, you have to ask COVID-19 that, because it was all planned for the 15th of August, and then with the lockdown, we had to cancel, and finding a common date on which the venue was available and no other event was taking place, though it is very hard if you're planning anything on a Saturday not to clash with any other functions or an event, and that does happen. But right now I'd like to see you all there on Saturday from 11 a.m. onwards till 7 p.m. and a wonderful row of very talented local artists have been gathered for the show, because we cannot get any artists from overseas. So let's find and discover our local talents. You will be pleasantly surprised at the talent which are going to be present there. Well, right now it's time to go to our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you glimpses of the changing India and the growing engagement of the Indian diaspora with India. In our first story, India is expanding Middle East diplomacy and forging a quadrilateral strategic alliance with USA, Israel and UAE. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a virtual conference with his counterparts from the US, Israel and the UAE. The partners of this strategic quadrilateral alliance have agreed to utilize complementary capabilities to fulfill overlapping interests. Jaishankar, who is currently on a 5-day visit to Israel, was accompanied by Israel's Foreign Minister Yair Lapid during the quadrilateral level meeting, while US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and UAE Foreign Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan participated virtually. Blinken described Israel, the UAE and India as three of our most strategic partners. He said by bringing friends together in new ways, the partnership is even greater than the sum of their parts. Lapid, who is also Israel's alternate prime minister, noted that Israel is looking for is synergy, and that is what it will try and create following the meeting. The Israeli leader felt that the objective must become to move quickly from government to business partnerships within the quadrilateral alliance. He emphasized the need to quickly put adequate mechanisms in place to translate efforts into real businesses around the globe. UAE's Al Nahyan thanked Blinken and Lapid for graciously proposing the idea of creating this kind of forum to boost cooperation. To remove bureaucratic hurdles that often slow down such initiatives, Al Nahyan suggested businesses should be surprised by providing them opportunities and then let the trading community respond by putting forth robust plans. The USA strongly condemns attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. The United States has condemned recent reports of attacks on the minority Hindu community in Bangladesh. The US State Department spokesman said, quote, "Freedom of religion or belief is a human right. Every person around the world, regardless of their religious affiliation or belief, should feel safe and supported to celebrate important holidays," end quote. Meanwhile, Pranesh Haldar, a member of the Bangladeshi Hindu community, in a statement urged the department to ensure that no further harm comes to the beleaguered Hindus of Bangladesh. He urged US-based watchdog groups and media houses to highlight the gravity of the violence in Bangladesh. 2 days ago, the Bangladeshi Hindu diaspora organized a protest in front of the Bangladesh Embassy in Washington, D.C. to protest large-scale violence leading to the destruction of Hindu homes and temples during Durga Puja festivities across Bangladesh. A US-based Hindu advocacy group, Hindu Pact, said indigenous Hindus continue to be the target of organized hate and discrimination in Bangladesh, a country where the minority population has steadily decreased from 28% in the 1940s to 9% now. Utsav Chakrabarti, Executive Director of Hindu Pact, said this recent wave of violence confirms the danger indigenous Hindus continue to face. Meanwhile, United Nations said the attacks on minority Hindus in Bangladesh are against the values enshrined in its constitution, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government needs to ensure an impartial inquiry into the incidents. The message from the top UN official based in Dhaka was prompted by a nearly week-long spell of communal violence targeting the minority Hindus during the just concluded Durga Puja celebrations. Flash floods death toll in Kerala rises to 38. Rescue operations are in full swing. Flash floods and landslides caused by incessant rains have killed 38 persons in the southern state of Kerala. National Disaster Rescue Force and the Indian Navy have been pressed into rescue operations. They continue to recover more bodies from the slush and debris. The state government said the devastation and death were all rain-related incidents since October 12th. 13 people died in the landslide-hit Kottikal in Kottayam district, whose bodies have already been recovered. 11 others died in various rain-related incidents in Idukki district. Police, armed forces and rescue personnel are conducting operations also at Kokkayar, where numerous landslips happened on October 16th. 2 more bodies were recovered from the district today, taking the toll there to 11. On October 16th, rescuers had recovered the bodies of a man and a woman who were travelling in a car that was swept away in the floodwaters in Kanjar area of the Idukki district. The State Disaster Management Authority said 38 persons have lost their lives from October 12th to 18th in various rain-related incidents that had occurred across Kerala. This includes 13 from Kottikal in Kottayam and 11 from Idukki in the landslides. 3 persons from Malappuram, 2 each from Alappuza, Thiruvananthapuram and Kannur, 1 each from Kollam, Kozhikode, Pathanamthitta, Thrissur and Palakkad died in various incidents. At least 90 houses have been destroyed in rain since October 12th, while 702 houses were partially damaged. Farm protesters disrupt rail traffic in more than 100 locations across Punjab and Haryana. More than 130 locations across northern India, especially Punjab and Haryana, were affected on 18th October due to the rail roko protest called by agitating farmers. Protesters demanded the dismissal and arrest of Union Minister Ajay Mishra in connection with the violence in Uttar Pradesh's Lakhimpur Kheri. A railway spokesman said the blockades affected the schedules of 50 trains. The spokesman said areas in the Bikaner division like Bhiwadi, Bhatinda, Hanumangarh were also affected. A couple of trains had to be cancelled, about a dozen short terminated, 1 diverted. North Central Railway said its train services remained unaffected so far. Despite the disruptions, the situation now is a far cry from last year's when train services to and from Punjab remained suspended for 2 months due to the agitation leading to an unprecedented crisis. All train services were halted in Punjab on September 24, 2020. Then by November 6, 2020, some 2,200 goods trains and over 1,300 passenger trains were either diverted or cancelled, with a total loss to the railways estimated at around 1,300 crore rupees. The rail roko call was given by the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, an umbrella body for farmers' unions spearheading the protest against farm laws since 2020. For the current agitation, the SKM said protests will only be intensified until justice is secured in the Lakhimpur Kheri case. The SKM said during the rail roko protest, all train traffic will be stopped for 6 hours from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. India's northeastern state of Assam is on high alert over possible terror strikes by ISI and Al-Qaeda. The police in the eastern state of Assam have sounded a high alert over possible terror strikes by Pakistan's spy agency ISI and terror outfit Al-Qaeda. Reports said terror outfits claim they are responding to persecution of Muslims in the state. In a September 23 eviction-related violence, 2 people were killed and 20 others injured in Assam's Darang district. In a circular referring to the reports from the state police's special branch, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Law and Order told all units of the security forces that the ISI was planning to target individuals including RSS cadres, army areas in Assam and other places in India. The circular said that another input received from a video message released by Al-Qaeda indicated a call for jihad, especially in Assam and Kashmir. The senior official asked all the district police to take necessary preventive and precautionary measures. Also, ground sources at the district and lower levels and intelligence input collection machinery is being geared up. Srinagar to begin direct international flights from October 23rd. The picturesque and world-famous city of Srinagar in Kashmir is set to be connected to the globe with direct international flights starting from 23rd October 2021. Tourism and business will get a major flip with the direct flight connectivity. Divisional Commissioner of Kashmir, Pandurang K. Pole, held a meeting with heads of various government agencies on 18th October to finalize necessary air traffic and security arrangements besides management of passengers in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. The airport authority seems to have okayed detailed plans for operation and regulation of activities at the airport. An important task is segregation of domestic and international passengers, conduct rapid PCR at airport for international passengers besides mandatory RT-PCR test before 48 hours. Roads to the airport are also being upgraded and alternate approaches being considered. Bollywood damsel Kangana Ranaut is returning with a bang in Dhakad to release in April 2022. Bollywood damsel Kangana Ranaut is set to make a major comeback as the industry recovers from COVID-19. Theatres are beginning to open in Maharashtra and other states around India. Globally, people are back to enjoying their favourite entertainment, the world of movies. Kangana's action film Dhakad has been announced to release on 8th April 2022. The much-awaited flick was earlier slated to release on 1st October 2021. But the producers delayed this mega movie. It has been mounted on a huge scale. Directed by Rajneesh Razigai and produced by Deepak Mukut and Sohail Maklai, Dhakad is billed as a high-octane spy thriller that also stars Arjun Rampal and Divya Datta along with a slew of compelling actors. Ranaut plays the role of Agent Agni in the film that will see her take on the layered subject of child trafficking and exploitation of women. Shot in Bhopal, Budapest and Mumbai, the film's first look sets the tone for a gory, gritty, pacey thriller. Ranaut's look from the film was also launched along with the release date at producer Mukut's birthday party at an event in Juhu. The film's stunts have been designed by an international team. Tetsuo Nagata, an award-winning Japanese cinematographer who has worked in many Hollywood action flicks, is the man behind the lens. Dhakad will be presented by Soham Rockstar Entertainment Private Limited in association with Kamal Mukut, Sohail Maklai Productions and Asylum Films. That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report. Thank you for watching.
And thank you very much, Ankita, for that Daily India Report. It's a presentation of PIO TV, brought exclusively to Brisbane Indian Times. Well, right now, once again, I'd like to remind you all about India Day Fair taking place this weekend. And now for the rest of the functions and events. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have time for you in this segment. Don't forget that we are back at 10 with the real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. Until then, it's goodbye from me.